GHK Lall on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Welcome to the midweek edition of the National Outlook, Wednesday, February 24th. I hope you had a good Mashramani holiday, a quiet one, a thoughtful one, a reflective one. But now we hinted yesterday at what has impacted this year's celebration of in the traditional Mashramani way. It's had to be subdued. So, and why? Because, as we all know, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So there have been a series of articles in Kaieteur newspaper that keeps reinforcing to us, keeps emphasizing to us the gravity of the situation. One that came out early last week was that the US CDC, the Center for Disease Control, a pretty authoritative body, and as high as they come, has listed Guyana as high risk for COVID-19 transmission. That's part of the bad news that I have to share. There's some good, but we start with the bad. Let's get that out of the way, whilst also reminding ourselves that there's the bad, lots of the bad that exists here with this pandemic. High risk. They're telling people not to travel. This is more than a travel advisory and a travel caution. It's like a travel order almost, without being an order. Do not travel to Guyana. So here we are on the threshold of oil and downstream and upstream effects and businesses and interest and monies to be invested and monies to be made and jobs to be had, taxes to be earned, and the CDC is saying do not travel to Guyana. That's bad news because we are high risk. We are high risk. We have Brazil next door. We have our social norms, not social distancing. Notice what I'm saying. Our social norms that quite a few of us are proud and arrogant enough to say we don't care. But when they don't care, they impact me and you. And that's the problem. Because we have a lot of people here who can be asymptomatic. They have the virus and it's really not manifesting itself. So they are silent carriers. And this is what I came across with some police action that happened, one on the West Demerara, where around, the newspaper was very careful, around 10 p.m., some men, 7 men under the 10, were in a bar and they were charged for being there, social distancing. Now, if they're close to 10, that's dangerously close to the curfew. Unless they all lived in that house, in that bar, or that business place, imbibing, they had to travel someplace, so they would have been on the road violating the curfew. So they felt the arm of the law squeezing them. And then in Plaisance on the East Coast, apparently there were videos circulating of a big posh way, as we say in this country, that was going on there with videos publicizing and shots, the police reported, shots being fired in the air. Could have been in celebration, could have been in defiance. And the promise is that some people will be charged, right? We hope that the playing field is, I hope that the playing field is level here with the administering of the law in terms of who is charged and who is held accountable for breaches of the regulations that are in place. So the good news, so the bad news is that we are high risk and that more than a few people are violating the regulations, and fairly constantly, and not in isolated places, but in more than a few places. The good news is that the COVID vaccine, the Honorable Minister of Health, Minister Anthony, has said that the response has been tremendously good here. I mean, mainly healthcare workers have gotten those, and I am encouraged by that. Pfizer itself, one of the major manufacturers of the vaccine against the virus, has said that in the clinical trials, the effectiveness was 94%, and in real-life administration, it is very close to that 94%, which is what I think that I heard Dr. Anthony, our Minister of Health, saying. So look, that's good news. We need to get to that place where we can vaccine as many people as possible. We have over 8,000 cases. We have a good almost 90% recovery rate, but we have approaching 200 deaths. We have had one death or two deaths almost every day in the past several weeks. Let's do our part again. That's the caution, that's the exhortation. Let's do our part to protect ourselves, our families, our friends, and our communities, our country. Let's social distancing, masking, and hand sanitizing. Until the next time, this is GHK Lall on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on the National Outlook.